guys, and welcome to another episode of Down to Business. The man I've got with me today needs no introduction, especially to Novocastrians, but our own Kurt Gidley. Kurt's, a former professional rugby league player in the NRL with the Newcastle Knights. Stint overseas with Warrington, New South Wales, Australia. He's achieved a lot, but we're not only going to talk footy. We're going to talk a lot more about what he's done since footy and some of the lessons we might be able to learn. He's a BDM at Protect Group. Had, I guess, his boss, Mark, on one of these before. Director and co-founder of the brand of beer, Still City. Many of you would know. And doing a few other roles right now, but he's also a dad to 3 little girls and proud Novocastrian. And welcome, Kurt.
It's good to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Mate, absolute pleasure. So I think you've got I've run into you in all different walks in outside of this and heard a few stories I think a lot of people could learn from. Probably from opportunity and that sort of stuff too, but people know the football and what you achieved, but it wasn't just forthcoming on a platter, was it?
No. I feel like I had to do it a hard way, probably because of I was a late developer, to be honest. I was only pretty small coming through my teens, and I had a lot of I played all my junior footy at West Newcastle, which is a club I love. I had 2 older brothers, which certainly built some resilience in my early years, but it was great to have 2 older brothers. I come from a working class blue collar family too. My dad was a coal train driver for 30 odd years. My mum worked in pathology, and so I come from a good stable family, just middle class, I guess. And so I think it all started with the grassroots at home, growing up at Wallsend, and then my junior footy at Newcastle. And as I say, I felt like I had to do it a tougher way to get into the Knights system through rugby league, just because I was a late starter from a growth point of view. So that made me more determined, committed, I think, in the long run.
Yeah. Because and let's go back to how old were you when you got into the Knights?
Well, I missed out in the under 15, so a lot of my teammates at West were being chosen for the Knights under 15s, Harold Matts, and then SG Ball, and I kind of missed out the first 2 years of trying out, which was disheartening and disappointing, but it definitely made me pursue it and persevere harder. So the following year, the 3rd year of trying out, I just wanted to make sure I was really enthusiastic and great communication and trying to win all the drills that I participated in. So I think, I was trying to send a message to the coaches and selectors and trainers that I really wanted to be there, number one, but I was willing to do that through work ethic. And that's how I finally got a start in my 3rd year of trying out for the Knights junior team. So, and on the back of that, I was there for the rest of my career. So from under 17s till I was 33 then.
But I think a lot of people, from the outside sometimes probably think that it does come on a platter. And I think from listening to you before, you said, whether, don't get me wrong, don't mean the wrong way, but you've got a lot of talent, but back in the day, whether that was recognised, but that hard work and I guess the, learning from maybe what didn't turn out first time and applying differently, it's a great thing we try and instill in our business, in clients' businesses, etc. And I guess, how's that but taking that when you're a young bloke and going, well, shit, I didn't get in.
Yeah. Well, I definitely wasn't the most talented, that's for sure, and I wasn't the most skilled. I didn't have the best passing game. I didn't have the best kicking game. So natural talent didn't come to me, on a platter. So I had to, work on my skills. Number one, I always prided myself on, my fitness, and that probably set me apart from my teammates and the other guys competing for positions. So I really wanted to be the fittest in every team that I played in, right up to the rep teams that I played in as well in the end. But I knew I had to work on all the skills that I required for those positions. Kicking game was so important, passing game, organisation skills, preparation, communication skills. So I did have to work on plenty of areas of my game that didn't come naturally to me like it did for other players. Speed, strength, they weren't my best attributes.
But I think off that attitude, I remember, I think I first met you, we were doing a bit of work with the Knights in a off-field sort of business connections capacity. And out of all the people I got put out to, at that stage, it's fair to say you'd made it. It probably wouldn't be the person that needed to reach out. But I think out of 30, we had probably 2
Yeah.
that got real engaged and active. So I think that's a fair indication of, as you said, attitude for one,
Yep.
energy and that communication that creates opportunities.
Yeah, and I'm still learning too today in my current role at ProTech, and I took a big leap of faith, which we'll probably get into a bit later, 5 years ago. But I think if you got the right attitude and you're willing to learn and you're committed and you're prepared to persevere, then you can have a genuine crack at anything. Really, doesn't guarantee you success, but it gives you a good opportunity.
Yeah, no, I think sometimes we get confused. This podcast and that is effectively one about business, but it's not just direct numbers and that sort of thing. It's really about those lessons that leaders and people of success can apply. And I think your story can, many business owners could learn this, because in SME land can be quite lonely. But so you started out going in there from as I said, you missed the first 15s Cup, but then you went in after that. Yep. But you also butcher.
Yeah. So
not many people might realise that.
No. Qualified butcher too, as tradesman. So I got the certificate, which was always my goal, I suppose. So yeah, going back to my school days, went to Elermore Vale Public School, and then followed my brothers to Glendale High School. And the work experience at year 10 came up. Where do I want to go? I was always had my sights set on I wanted to be a policeman, and that was my childhood dream, I guess. And then I guess we had the local butcher experience, where I'd go to the butcher shop with my dad on a Saturday morning, and you'd have a bit of banter there, and there was a relationship there, and the opportunity year 10 came up, work experience, and you obviously couldn't step into the police workforce at that stage to go and do 2 weeks of work experience. So I'd done it at the local butcher shop, and from there I got offered an apprenticeship at the end of year 10 through Bobby Lyons at Elermore Vale Shopping Centre. And I thought, well, you know what, this is a great opportunity to sort of step away from mum and dad, number one, have some real independence, earn some money for the first time, which I was, mindful that I could save some money and buy myself my own things. And it was local. So I borrowed some money off my brother for a push bike at 16, and all of a sudden was setting the alarm for 5:30 and getting up and riding my bike to Elermore Vale Shopping Centre as a year 1 apprentice butcher.
I bet the bike wasn't as featured up as you got with the new Doroti, mate.
No, not quite. No electric bikes back then. But look, on reflection from my footy career, what I learned in my apprenticeship with a small business amongst a small team, it absolutely no doubt had an influence on my footy career and my life, without a doubt. And just around, discipline and work ethic, and willing to learn new skills, working within a small team. Like I had to be super reliable, working within a small butcher shop and a small team. There wasn't, you couldn't just, call in sick. That was going to have an influence on the team. I was so naive. I didn't know about sick days or holidays or normal hours. Like I was working from 7 a.m. till 5:30, and then I'd finish training. Dad would pick me up, and we'd go straight to footy training for 2 hours, and get home, have dinner, bed, and same thing next day. Yeah. So thankfully, I was naive around what a normal working week would be, because that those type of hours and that type of commitment really set the founding blocks to where my life would get to year 3 of my apprenticeship. That was where I got a call from Michael Hagan when I was a third-year apprentice to debut on a Friday night at home at Marathon Stadium in front of my family and friends. So,
no, mate, I think you hit on the head. It's a great message in what people are going to do. It's that work ethic. Everyone says, anyone successful in business has been hard slog. So, put it in and.
Yeah, and then I guess, that was a third-year apprentice debuted, and then I obviously got just the little taste of what, may be to come. So that just, I guess inspired me to finish my apprenticeship for the next 12 months to make sure I got my certificate and I completed what I'd signed up to start with. And then obviously, once got a little bit of a taste of what professional rugby league may be, and I want to stay there for as long as I could.
Yeah, no, I love it. But I love that fact you still went to finish the
Yeah.
apprenticeship. There's so many, not just in rugby league by any means, but there's so many people you come across that see that little bit of, the taste, or the grass is greener, and all the rest of it piles into the forgotten, and we need to make sure that we see some of these things out. 'Cause you never know.
Well, I think so. I think there's some self-satisfaction too. There's some fulfillment. If you're going to sign up for a course or a uni degree or an apprenticeship, whatever it may be, then it's important to see it out and achieve the goal that you set out to achieve. So, and I remember I was talking to Steve Simpson about it. He'd gone through a similar path as a heavy diesel mechanic, I think Simo was, and he'd been through the very similar pathway and said, mate, contact TAFE and contact the apprenticeship board, and you could right away. I'd done more than enough hours, and TAFE had completed, so I was able to get signed off 6 months early, I think. So that was a good tip from Simo, and I guess someone who I looked up to and was a great leader and mentor as well within those teams.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I guess off the back of that, you've mentioned a few things about achievement, and whether it be on trying to get ahead and improve. How big has goal setting and planning been in that journey?
Oh, look, it's a huge part of, I guess, why I've pursued goals and had success, because I like, setting them out, whether it's writing them down, putting them up on whiteboards or next to my bed or wherever it may be. I think there's a plan, there's a pathway, and there's a process to follow. And then also, again, the achievement of whether it's crossing something off the list or ticking it off as a goal that you've achieved, then I think there's some real fulfillment that you've worked hard to achieve that goal, and then I guess reassessing what the next goal may be on the back of that. But I think there's, I just see it from a visual point of view. It's a real satisfying thing to actually cross the goal off the list or tick the box next to it, and you've achieved it.
Oh yeah, and momentum breeds momentum. Like it's. I couldn't agree more. And there's, again, I'm probably coming from the business owner's point of view, but there's just not enough that actually, what are we trying to achieve, and give self-direction and that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've still got a whiteboard behind my desk at work now where I've got, clients and targets that I want to sign up as a client for us at ProTech, and there's a process to follow around how I achieve that, and I've got different coloured pens that I write in, and I like to be able to see the success on my whiteboard behind me and wipe them off when I do and look at the next ones.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. So you mentioned ProTech, and we mentioned Steel City before. You're wearing a number of hats these days. So talk to me about the different businesses and well, I guess also that opportunity, how these things have come about.
Yeah, well, I finished my footy career in the Warrington Wolves in the Super League 2016-17, and was always coming back to Newcastle with my wife and two young girls at that stage. I've got three young girls now, and I moved into a business development role back at the club, which was a good opportunity for me. I was thinking about coming back into the performance and the coaching side of things, but I retired for a reason. I was ready for a change and a break and a new challenge. And thankfully there was a role at the Knights as BDM, which was a great stepping stone, away from the team and into a bit more of what business looks like outside of just rugby league. So that was great to be involved in sponsorship, community, hospitality, and then I was actually selling some hospitality tickets to ProTech out of the Newcastle office here, and again the I guess the relationship built there. Went for a coffee, and they had a business development role open with their business out of Newcastle. And to be honest, I went and seen Phil Gardner, who I'd known since I was 7 years old at West Newcastle, and he would have liked to have kept me in that role, but he encouraged me to take it and said, I'd like to still keep you on Kurt as the ambassador and keep your game day involved in the club. So that was a big relief, to be honest, and I really respect Phil for that because I was really uncertain around taking the role because it was just totally out of my comfort zone, and I had no previous experience around the recruitment industry and the industries that ProTech supply personnel to. So, but I knew in myself it was the right role to take. It was going to be a new challenge. It was going to develop my personal professional career, and thankfully Phil encouraged me to take it, and I did. So here I am or coming up to 5 years later.
And it's as you said. I mean, as we have had Mark on before, but projects mainly around labour hire, people placement, etc., into mining and manufacturing type or engineering type businesses.
Yeah, look, a range of different industries and civil construction, mining services. We're having a real crack at mining industry and maintenance, manufacturing, rail. The renewable space is a growing one at the moment. So again, I knew my dad was a boilermaker before he was a train driver, and that was about as much as I sort of knew about manufacturing. Obviously, knew about the BHP and the influence of that on the town of Newcastle. Obviously, the coal mining industry, but outside of those knowing the industries, I was pretty inexperienced around the roles in those industries. Then learning about the awards and enterprise agreements and rosters and pay cycles, from an industrial relations point of view and HR. So it was quite overwhelming the first 6 months. But again, I went back to exactly what I learnt through my childhood and through my apprenticeship. Again, I started my butcher's apprenticeship with no experience in that industry, but willing to learn, good work ethic, reliability, and some perseverance. And that's what got me through the first 6 months, because I had some major doubts and some moments of feeling overwhelmed and anxious in my first 6 months of ProTech. But I just went back to what had worked previously.
And I think it's fair to say, in meeting some of the people you work with, it's fair to say that you ask for help. You have the right attitude and energy, as you said, things you've learned over time or applied over time, and you get the help, and it becomes that little bit less daunting.
Yeah, I think so. And I think I learned that from, again, my apprenticeship, but also my footy career. You should seek help, whether it's through coaches or mentors or supervisors, bosses, whoever it may be, because I guess it's uncomfortable maybe if you don't ask for help, but then what happens is you feel more overwhelmed or more anxious, and inevitably you end up burning out or failing, and failing through a mistake where you could have asked for help or advice. And I think again on the other side of the fence, when I've been a leader and a mentor, if a younger person or a colleague or a teammate comes up asking for help or advice, then I kind of feel pretty chuffed about that.
Yeah,
and I'm happy, and I'm actually excited about helping them out.
Yeah, what goes around comes around.
Yeah.
And I guess so. Great story there, and you're obviously enjoying that role. I mean, you're a great ambassador for ProTech every time we see. Pivoting for a minute, and we've got something totally different in Steel City. I guess everyone likes the idea of a beer company, but tell me about how Steel City come about and the role you play there.
Yeah, well, it came about a group of our good mates. We're passionate Novocastrians. We love Newcastle and we love a beer. So through one of our mates, Craig Anderson, who's a professional surfer, and Oliver Semkin, they're two best mates, and they'd seen obviously some of the other professional sporting people start a beer company in various locations around Australia, and I guess a dedicated beer to towns like Byron Bay and Stone and Wood and Bolter at the Gold Coast. I think there was Honorsdale in WA who the guys knew. So we thought, what, Newcastle, although it has already had some local beers and small breweries, we thought we'd put one together ourselves through a pretty tight-knit group of mates and passionate Novocastrians and beer lovers, and we started Steel City. And look, it's been a roller coaster ride, there's no doubt about that, through just the whole process around, we had the name, we had the brand, we had the guys involved, and then, we now need to come up with an actual beer and a flavour and taste. And we've had some really good help along the way through experienced people in the industry, but even the whole process of negotiating, what's best for our business was great experience for me from a legal point of view, which I don't have any experience or background in, but it got us to a stage where we had some really good help, and we established a beer, and we went to market, and unfortunately then COVID hit, and we released a beer in an industry that hospitality was smashed by. So some really good learnings, and again some great experience that I've learnt through the first 2.5 years at the moment.
But I guess some of that resilience that you've kept referring back to throughout life, let alone career, would have served pretty well during the last couple of years of COVID and that sort of stuff, especially launching a new business.
Yeah, and I think it's probably one I haven't mentioned is belief, and that's definitely through your footy career or any career, I guess, where you have some real doubts around where you're at in your own role, or if you're running your own business, or if you're a professional sporting person where you're struggling for your best performances. There's a few questions that start running through the head around doubt.
Yep.
And then we definitely had that through our business at Steel City around COVID and where we still be when we got out of COVID, and then I guess some people doubting where we are in the beer industry. So we had to believe in the team, we had to believe in the product that we've got, and we've still got to believe in where we're looking to get our business to. So I don't think that's uncommon, and is to have some doubts at different times. But again, go back to what's the goal here, and what's our process to make sure we achieve our goals.
And surround yourself with the right people, obviously, helps that.
Well, I think that's the other one around, again, seeking help or advice. And I think that's where, you've got to be able to pick up the phone to good people around town and experienced people that are happy to share some advice, and probably even picking up the phone and calling people through a referral of a friend or that you haven't spoken to before, and just introducing yourself and explaining where you're at and why you've made the call.
Yeah, very good. And I know you've got plenty else going on, but I think they're your two main streams. But everything, to me, when I look from I guess sometimes a bit closer, but generally afar, a lot of it comes from just taking advantage of opportunity. You mentioned before about comfort zone, which I think cripples most people. Yep. I mean, not saying if it was easy, everyone would be doing it, but talk to me about opportunities and how those opportunities generally come about. Because I'll just add one more thing. A lot of people say, it's because you're a footballer, but there's been plenty of footballers that have had profile that are now nowhere to be seen. So, I think it's admirable from that aspect, taking advantage and working out how you get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Well, I guess the sporting background can help, but I'm not here to get a free ride and get my foot in the door just because of my previous career. In fact, I try and steer clear of referring to that at all. I want to have success in my role at ProTech now in Steel City because of the business I work for and the product that we've got, and I want to I want to achieve my own goals for the way I do my role. I don't want it to be because of what success I might have had during my footy career. So it's, I think for myself, I don't know. How do I go?
Well, I think like from an opportunity point of view, I think for me, you're happy to, I guess, help anyone out. Give back to the community. I know from our business point of view, it's always been a big part of what we do. We benefit from the community, and we should give back. And I see you do that quite a lot, helping people out. So I think for me, it's more so you're being a bit humble there, but the opportunity comes about because of those values and work ethic, and I guess saying yes more than most people just it's all too hard.
I think it's about building relationships that are long lasting. Yeah, for myself, again, I want to be able to connect with people. I think that's a big part around my role in whether it's a Steel City or ProTech. It's around connecting with people, building a relationship that isn't always just solely around business. I'm trying to build friendships amongst my business relationships, and I have it certainly at ProTech and Steel City, and whether it's any community work I do as well, that I come across as genuine. I want to be there because it's my choice. It's not because I'm being forced to be there, or it's because I'm being rewarded by being there. I'm looking to build long-lasting relationships that are genuine. And that, at the end of the day, is there a business outcome at the end of that, whether it's yes or no? it's irrelevant. That's the relationships I'm looking to build.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great answer. And I think the other points I had there, the next talk about, I think a big part of your success has come from relationships and networking.
Yeah.
Most people talk about it, especially in a business sense, or if they do it, so we'll go to an event that's hosted by someone or something, but no real plan of attack, no real structure. Talk to me about, I guess, I understand the importance of your relationships, but talk to me about the structure you put behind, relationship management or networking or creating these enduring relationships.
Yeah, well, I guess I reflect on that one a little bit myself because I obviously interact with different salespeople in different industries. And again, I've never seen myself as in sales because, again, those relationships that I'm building and networking, whether it's at the footy or it might be a luncheon or a specific networking event, then I'm looking to connect with people, but I think you got to be genuine around, introducing yourself, looking people in the eye, shaking their hand, having conversations that flow freely. I'm always really engaged in the other person. Obviously, people may or may not be aware about my previous career, so they might want to talk around, footy or what's happened in the past. But I'm trying to, I guess, engage with all conversations with all people at all different levels in various industries because I want to know about them.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I try to instill this in younger people too. That very easy to talk. Well, not arrogantly, but people talk about themselves because they know themselves. Or their business because they've got a passion in it. And I think the key to building relationships and getting that likeness, if you like, is let people talk and ask questions. And
I think it's the biggest thing. One of the biggest things coming from sport, you're involved in so many functions when you're a player, and you feel a little bit. I guess you feel a little bit guarded again because you're a lot of people at those events are sponsors or could be fan events at the stadium, or it could be corporate events where you've got the corporate people from sponsorship or sponsoring the club. So you really do, I guess, improve your communication skills because you've got to be able to communicate to kids, to the middle-aged working class people who are genuine fans, to the elderly who are fans and passionate fans of the club, and to the corporate business people who are sponsors of the sporting club that you're playing for, or the rep team that you're playing for. So you do unknowingly develop great communication skills through those events and to all the different walks of life in our community. And unless you go out of your way, and again you take yourself out of your comfort zone to go and speak to kids, to go and speak to a CEO, to go and speak to a grandma who's waiting outside the stadium, you do have to engage in those conversations willingly. And by the time you do finish your career, all of a sudden you need to reflect on what skills you actually did learn that you can transition into another career. Yeah. And they're things that I think players, when they transition out of sporting people, when they transition out of their sport into life after that career, they maybe aren't aware of, and because they are great skills. Whether it's perseverance, whether it's communication, whether it's willing to learn, belief, confidence, all those things that are so important in team environment in sport. You can transition them, but sometimes you just need a tap on the shoulder to say, "Hey, mate, all these attributes that you've learned, you can transition them into."
Oh yeah, and it's nearly like how good would it be if you had like a a passport of just that awareness and realisation. But for me, I think every business, successful business person or leader that I speak to, and you're just reiterating that, is the amount of conscious and unconscious learning or subconscious learning that you're doing all the time and reinvesting in yourself to get that next opportunity.
Yeah, I think with footy too, you're always critiquing your own game, and also you had coaches who you could sit alongside and review. Your obviously your team performance amongst your peers, which is always very, very honest room in those video rooms. But you're always critiquing your own performance and holding yourself accountable to looking for areas to improve. So I think again they were great learnings that you can take into another career.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. What's one of the, I guess, switching it again, and you can answer this from anywhere. I guess it's not just in current role, but what's one of the biggest? We say mistakes, but I don't mind mistakes as long as we learn from them. So, what's one of the biggest learnings you've had in something that maybe not went quite?
Yeah. Oh no, I've still got some mistakes in my own head that I still reflect on today, because I've had to, I learned from them. Whether it's mistakes or failing, they're uncomfortable. There's no doubt about that, and you're disappointed that you made them. I think for me, any time I've underprepared and I've failed, I know it was because it was a lack of preparation. And a lot of the time, well, all the time, I understand and I prioritise preparation. And the older I get, the more experienced I get. I know how important it is. But I think if I reflect on some times in my previous careers when I've just been a little bit complacent with preparation, and I failed, and the moment I failed, I know it's because it's due to a lack of preparation or complacency. And whether, there's probably a couple off the top of my head where, it might be guest speaking, where just went in a bit complacent and all of a sudden you lost your words, or you get a bit overwhelmed, or I think they're moments where I'd like to have back. From a footy point of view, where I might have underprepared because of injuries that I wasn't able to prepare with the team, and then therefore might be a mistake during the game, or it might have been didn't do enough video session on my opponents or the opposition who was on my side of the field. I think they're learnings. Anyone who's had success, I'm sure, is happy to be honest around if they've had failings.
Yeah, well, I think that's, I say all the time, it might be the best we can do, but if you can, constantly learn, you're going to get better. And as I said, there are any mistakes if they're repeated.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, if you're going to repeat the same mistake over and over again, there's going to be questions asked, and that's where the pressure starts to build, because you're either not learning from the mistakes, or you're not taking into consideration the preparation that is the right prep to make sure it doesn't happen again. And I suppose, mate, the other one, sometimes the lack of preparation is because you didn't seek help or advice. And that's one that I make sure I do now. Certainly in my role at ProTech, there is some highly skilled professionals within our business that I go straight to for the right advice.
And you look at how much, and I don't, obviously wasn't as much probably in your career at the Knights as what there is now, but how much support they've got around the team, and all the different specialists and people there for a reason.
Yeah.
And, I guess you're sort of forced in that environment to take it up, but then you step out of there. Wasn't any different. High-performing teams or high-performing individuals, they need it, so they probably just need to seek it out themselves a bit more.
Well, yeah, the current players have got, all the right resources at their fingertips. I think, again, some of the challenges around life after footy for a new career, you don't have that support network. So you've got to have some real self-discipline. And I think that's where some, ex-athletes probably struggle with that transition, is the support network's not there. All of a sudden, self-discipline is much more tougher, because you haven't got people looking over your shoulder, you haven't got teammates who are holding you accountable, you haven't got coaches holding you accountable. So, life after sport, it takes some real self-discipline and reflection around, okay, well, where am I going to take this next phase of my life?
But I think, as you've pointed out several times even in this conversation, people want to help. I think, people in general, we can watch the media and you see all the bad part of the world, but people in general are good people. And I've never had, I don't think anyone ever say no, maybe not now.
Yep.
I've never had anyone, when I've asked for bit of a chat or some guidance, or I think people generally want to help. So the first step is actually asking.
Yeah, mate, and that's why I love my role as business development. My role is about number one, as I said before, connecting with people, and then secondly, building a relationship. But I don't know how many times I've just picked up the phone because I know a connection of the joining the dots as far as it could be a referral from one person to the next, or I know someone working in one industry who's happy to refer me on to someone who may be able to influence where I'm looking to grow our business at ProTech. Yep. So I feel very humble and grateful that I've had really good help through my role at ProTech, and not just with our internal team at ProTech, but just from a Hunter Valley point of view.
Yeah, sure.
I definitely couldn't have had the success in my role without good people in this town, and I feel really grateful for that. And again, I'm only more than happy to help someone else out if they're looking for a mutual contact that they can use to help grow their business or their network as well. I think
it's a great message.
Yep.
Great message. So I mean, these little interviews always probably don't do enough justice to people's stories and the rest of it. But I think we've got a fair bit of the humble beginnings and where you've come from, what you've achieved now, and kicking some goals, on the field, but now off the field. What's next? Yeah? Politics, mate. Yeah? What's next in Steel City, ProTech, etc.?
Yeah, well, I've got a bit on. I guess I'm ticking the boxes to what I'm passionate about. I'm still involved in Newcastle Knights as an ambassador and do some coaching with the junior teams, which I really enjoy. I'm not over committing to that as far as I enjoy my little coaching gig for Harold Matts, SG Ball, bit of Jersey flag around kicking, catching, outside back. So that's my little footy fix. Game day, I enjoy being over there at the stadium, hosting one of the corporate boxes, the sports lounge, the ProTech Sports Lounge. Steel City's a good personal passion. It's an investment that I've got financially and emotionally that I want to see succeed, and I'm pretty determined to make sure we keep pushing that. And then my role at ProTech, I've grown my role from Newcastle BDM into BDM New South Wales, and I guess my priority at the moment is to push into this mining space, mining and probably renewables. There's so much talk around this the renewable space, and that's certainly an area that I'm keeping an eye on throughout the Hunter Valley. So I think there's some good growth that we can have still throughout Newcastle, the Hunter Valley, and New South Wales in my role at ProTech, and my wife, my family, and my 3 girls, that they are my top priority, and making sure I'm there to support my girls in dancing and soccer and gymnastics and whatever they're pursuing as well, because they're my priority too. I spent a long career in chasing my own passion and dream, where my wife really supported me through that, and my kids through some travel overseas. But now it's time to support my wife and my three young girls.
Stuff.
Yep,
great stuff. You still doing the butterflies of the meat, mate, and bone of the meat, or that's?
Mate, it's like riding a bike, mate. That is. No, I still got the duties of Christmas Day, cutting the ham up and the pork up. So look, it's a career that I do reflect on, and that I enjoyed, that had a huge influence on my personal life and my professional life. So it's always there.
That's great, mate. I think anyone watching, whether it be a young person with goals, primarily it's business owners or even business leaders. I think try and wrap some of this up, but turn up with energy and the right attitude. I think and as Kurt said, the work ethic speaks volumes. Whether the obviously the talent's got to be there, but for some of you that may not get it first go, being able to communicate and how you've grown that by talking to other people and really getting out of your comfort zone. Too many people will just stay in it because of that fear factor, but as I said, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it, and therefore there's a lot of opportunity for those that do.
There's a call, mate. I think most teams probably got it these days, but being comfortable, being uncomfortable, at different times in our lives, and you don't want to be uncomfortable 24/7 because it'd be too too much pressure and stress, but I think there's times where you just got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, whether it's stepping outside of your comfort zone or, a tough couple of days, but it'll pass.
Well, I mean, a great mentor of mine, I still have it in my head. He says, if the why is clear, the how becomes easy. And I think if you can think of that and get you through that comfort part. But I think being genuine, and you made every conversation I have with you, and I think people could see it. That's evident, being genuine with people and taking an interest in other people. Pretty key one to some of these opportunities that present itself. Continually learning, that's a big one, and it's a common theme amongst most of the people that we have on this. One that you did come out with mistakes, but I think it's invaluable, is preparation. And making sure you are prepared, and that could be, a client meeting, it could be a pitch, it could be just a new introduction, but being prepared. And one that, you said directly and indirectly throughout that chat then was reaching out, asking for help. Don't be scared to, and know that people will generally give back. So there's some great messaging there and some great lessons, and I think it's often good when you do a bit of reflection yourself and realise how far you've come. So well done, and really appreciate you coming on, join us for Down to Business.
Mate,
thanks, mate.
Thanks very much for the invitation. Cheers.
Until next time, cheers.